This is the multi-voice text-to-speech podfic reading of Flowers and Fairylights by Krabapple, composed by Burning Aurora, Kaliana, and Flower Hawk. Remus was waiting at the bottom of the stairs for Sirius, who was, as could have been predicted, taking his sweet time getting ready. Remus knew there was no real rush. John, Ron, and the other ushers were still seating some guests in the back garden, which had been transformed into something resembling a fairyland, with strung lights, charmed pixies, and glowing lanterns ready to illuminate the whale's night once evening fell, and which now in the afternoon sun added charm to the overflowing archways of flowers in a dizzying array of colors and arrangements, many taken from Neville's personal greenhouse. Remus, also probably as predicted, had been ready early, a little nervous. For August the weather was sunny and gorgeous, warm but not too hot, though Remus pulled at the collar of his suit. Hope had said with both fathers of the bride, and the groom himself being professors at Hogwarts, and the Lupin Black Potter birthday season, August was the only timing that made sense. Still, it was warm enough that Remus was just slightly uncomfortable. The choice of dress once again had been Hope's, a nod, Remus thought, to her life and her largely muggle-lived childhood. Even knowing they had plenty of time, Remus was approximately 1 minute away from beginning to tap his foot in impatience when Hermione, dressed in her lavender bridesmaid dress, sidled up to him and gently tapped his arm, telling him Hope was asking to see him. He stood now with his hand on the doorknob to the small room downstairs that had cycled through various uses over the years, his office and tutoring space, John's bedroom, a playroom, and now once again his study, though today it was being used as the bride's dressing room. Remus knocked lightly and then entered, pausing in the doorway to take in Hope, who was standing in front of a full-length mirror they had conjured, smoothing a hand down her dress. Hope's wedding dress had been Andromeda's, altered by Mrs. Fields just slightly to update the style and fit. Her black hair was in a bun, stylized in curled wisps escaping to frame her face, and her veil was attached to a pearled comb nestled in the top of her dark bun. She was wearing the diamond pendant Remus and Sirius had given her for her 16th birthday around her neck. Remus smiled and closed the door softly behind him. Hope turned toward him at the sound and gave him a smile that made his heart stop in his chest.
"Hi, Daddy,"
she said softly, and Remus teared up immediately, which only made Hope smile wider. Remus blinked against the tears, but he already had the idea it would be a futile effort.
I told myself I wasn't going to cry today,
he said, feeling the first of the tears spill over a little. Hope laughed softly.
"Well, that was just lying to yourself,"
she said, taking a few steps toward him as he came forward to meet her. She reached up her hand and brushed a tear from his cheek, which only brought on more of a prickle behind Remus's eyes.
Yes, true, but I have my delusions.
Remus joked softly. Hope laughed again.
"Look at it this way. You probably won't outcry Pads. He's already cried 4 times today, and that includes when we ran out of milk at breakfast."
And when Evan managed to chase off that stray garden gnome because he felt badly we were evicting a gnome,
Remus smiled.
He's ridiculous, but he's allowed to be a little ridiculous today.
"As long as you allow it."
Hope said, smiling too. Remus shrugged a little.
Don't know if I have much choice,
he answered before pausing.
You all right, love? Hermione said you wanted to see me.
Hope nodded.
"I do. I'm fine. More than fine, really."
Hope said, that blinding smile lighting up her face again.
"I just wanted a moment, for only the 2 of us."
She said simply.
Oh, Hope.
Remus breathed, tears welling again. Hope continued to smile.
"I wanted you to know that I made sure the tradition of something old, something new, something borrowed, and something blue was taken care of."
Remus was momentarily confused, but he nodded.
I'm so happy you did, my girl,
he said.
"I borrowed Ginny's bracelet."
Hope said, lifting her left arm a little to show the bracelet off a bit, the light coming in through the windows catching the diamonds in the sun.
The one Harry gave her for their first anniversary.
Remus said, and Hope nodded.
"Neville gave me a blue rose, and it's in my bouquet."
Hope said, indicating the flowers on the table, just to the left of them.
"I bought the earrings myself, so they are new."
She added, tilting her head just a bit so Remus could see the small diamond studs in her ears, delicate and understated but beautiful, matching her pendant.
They're gorgeous, darling,
Remus said, meaning it.
"I like them."
Hope answered simply.
So what is your something old?
Remus asked, and to his surprise, Hope took his hands in hers. She smiled up at him softly, and his heart began to beat faster.
"It's not so much old as it is, well, not changing."
Hope answered enigmatically. Remus tilted his head to the side.
I thought a lot about it, and, well, my something old is my name. I'm not changing it. To Longbottom. Neville knows, and he's more than supportive. I'll be staying Lupin, Hope Lupin.
She said.
Hope.
Remus tried, though his throat had closed up. He knew he was crying again when Hope squeezed his hands in hers a bit.
My friends, like Hermione, think it's a feminist statement, or has to do with my career.
Hope continued. She was a healer at St. Mungo's working in research in the spell reversal department.
So I can keep publishing under my name, and there wouldn't be any confusion. Many of my female colleagues hyphenate for that reason.
But that's not why.
Remus found his voice. Hope shook her head and squeezed his hands again in hers.
No,
She said softly.
it's because I will forever and always be your girl.
Remus tried to speak, but he found he couldn't find the breath for any words.
I knew when I was growing up how much you loved me, how hard you worked to provide for me and protect me and raise me. And for a long, long time, you did it all yourself. You taught me right from wrong and told me stories and showed me by example what grace and perseverance look like. I saw some of it when I was a kid and even more when I was at Hogwarts. But since I've become an adult, well, I have an even greater appreciation for what you had to have gone through. How scared and lonely you had to have been so much of the time, especially before I was born, but even after. And then once I was here, how hard you worked so that I would never feel the same way or would feel those things as little as possible for all my life.
Hope kept one hand in Remus's and moved the other up to his face again, wiping away a few tears before her gentle, cool fingertips came to rest on his cheek.
You gave me all of your love, and it was the greatest gift I've ever received. And how could I not keep the name that would remind me of that and you every day?
Oh, Hope,
Remus managed again.
you know that it was my greatest joy and privilege to have you and raise you and call you my daughter. It still is.
Yes, and that's why I still want to be called your daughter every day when someone uses my name.
Hope said simply.
My dear girl, I know your dress.
Remus started, but Hope cut him off.
Give me a hug. I don't care about my dress.
Hope said, laughing softly, and Remus did as asked, gently gathering her in his arms as he had since she was born. Hope held on tightly, sighing softly.
I'm honored, love.
Remus said, gently kissing her cheek.
The honor is mine, Daddy.
She answered, and they didn't part until Sirius knocked on the door and quietly told them Neville and Harry were under the bower at the front of the garden, waiting for Hope to be walked down the aisle by her fathers. The evening festivities were well underway, dinner having been served after the reception. There were still tables scattered about so people could sit and eat from the dessert bar or have a drink, or just chat with one another. The middle of the garden was taken up by a conjured wooden dance floor, where guests were also enjoying themselves. Remus and Sirius were on the dance floor together. Sirius had taken off his tie and unbuttoned the first few buttons on his shirt, giving Remus a tantalizing view of his collarbone. Remus had also taken off his tie as he let himself be twirled by Sirius, who had always loved dancing, switching from the formal ballroom style he had grown up learning, ever the posh pure blood, to freeform and back. Remus let himself be led around, and laughed as Sirius twirled him one more time at the end of a fast song, bringing him back just in time for the music to slow. Sirius kept one of Remus's hands in his, and then let the other settle on Remus's hip, swaying them slightly to the music, which was provided by a record player Sirius had charmed to play through hours of songs, chosen by the bride, the groom, and indeed, just about everyone they could find who had an opinion, which turned out to be a lot of people. Sirius had a slight flush to his cheeks, from both the dancing and the champagne, Remus guessed, and he leaned his head just slightly against Remus's as he pulled Remus close.
All right, Moony.
Sirius asked against his ear, and Remus grinned.
Very all right.
Remus answered.
It's been such a happy day.
He felt Sirius's answering grin.
She is a beautiful bride.
Sirius agreed.
And so deliriously happy.
Remus said. Sirius laughed.
I think that's Neville, actually, but I'll concede the point.
If you were Neville, would you blame him?
Good Merlin, no. I'd have just married the most brilliant, gorgeous, clever, funny witch in existence. I also would be deliriously happy.
Sirius said.
Fortunately for me, I married the smartest, most handsome, witty, amazing wizard in existence, so I don't have to be jealous.
Remus smiled.
Well, thank Merlin you've been saved from jealousy.
I'd be horrible jealous, and was when I thought Dearborn was after you, so you should be thanking everything you can think of.
Sirius answered, and Remus laughed.
Oh yeah, I'd forgotten about that.
Remus said.
You were insufferable for weeks, and I could not figure out why.
Sirius laughed.
We were such idiots. Thank goodness we grew out of that.
He said, swaying Remus to the music.
I'm sorry, who cried over the milk this morning?
Our daughter was getting married, and we couldn't even provide her with milk in her morning tea.
Sirius huffed.
Looks like she survived.
Remus answered.
And you're the one who cried, not her.
Oi, you, don't split hairs. I had every right to be emotional.
Sirius said, pinching Remus a bit above his hip, near where his hand had fallen.
Ow, you great git.
Remus said, but he was laughing when he said it.
And you should be proud of me, Mooney, because I gave that wonderful young woman away to that boy today, and he'd better treat her right.
They're 26 years old, and he's been treating her right since she was 15.
Remus said easily.
Don't remind me of either of those facts.
Sirius said, and Remus smiled.
I'm proud of you, Padfoot.
Remus said softly.
For giving her away. I mean, I kind of had to. You were there, and she was there, and there was also an audience. Someone would have either yelled at me or killed me.
No.
Remus said, pulling back a little so he could angle his head and see Sirius's face a bit.
Oh yeah, I mean, also a bit, for giving her away, for loving her so well, and being such a wonderful father to her and all our children.
To Remus's slight surprise, he watched Sirius's face soften under the enchanted lights.
Remus Mooney.
His grip on Remus tightened, pulling him closer.
I'll take some credit. Godric knows I love that girl, and all the ones that came after her. But I think we all know who really got us here, Mooney.
He said softly. Remus shook his head a bit.
Mooney.
Sirius said gently.
Don't be modest.
He paused.
I heard Hope is keeping Lupin for her last name.
Where did you hear that?
Remus asked softly.
Hermione. I got a full 15-minute rundown on how much this alone was going to progress witches' rights in the UK after I came downstairs this afternoon. I listened to the whole thing. Lily would have been proud.
Remus laughed a little, picturing it.
But that's not why Hope is doing it, is it?
Sirius followed up gently. Remus shook his head against Sirius, not trusting his voice.
It's because she's your girl.
Sirius said simply, and the hand holding Remus's tightened.
She always has been, and it's been one of my favorite things about both of you, for a long time now.
Sirius.
Remus started, but Sirius shook his head.
When you were 26, she was already 4.
Sirius said.
And so well cared for, and so loved, and had been all her life, probably even before she was born.
Remus felt tears gather behind his eyes.
When I was pregnant with her, I was so alone and so scared. I didn't know. I didn't know what she'd be like, what it would be like to have a child, to have her, and you.
Remus swallowed, and Sirius's hand tightened further.
I missed you so much, and I didn't even know if you would have wanted her, or a child, any child.
He said softly. It was quiet for a moment as Sirius continued to move them to the music. Finally, he took a breath.
At 22, well, I might have been a right bastard about it, at least at first.
He said slowly, and the honesty of it almost took Remus's breath away.
But if things had been different, James and Lily also would have knocked some sense into me. James probably literally in the nose if necessary.
He added, and that made Remus laugh a little even through his sudden emotion.
And then, hopefully, I would have remembered how much I love you, and known that any life you carried was going to only exponentially expand that love. It's easy to say that having gone through that process with you twice since then, with marvelous, life-changing, heart-filling results. But, even back then, Merlin, if they had laid that newborn girl in my arms, I would have been as lost to her then as I was on that Quidditch pitch. Hell, probably even from the first time I felt her move in you. You're both so unbelievably amazing, and I am so lucky to have you both.
Remus felt his own tears fall and heard them in Sirius's voice.
You're not the only lucky one, Padfoot.
He said. Sirius hummed and shuffled his feet a little, so that he was turning them in slow circles.
Mooney, look around you. What do you see?
Remus looked. Hope and Neville's guests were gathered in groups across the back garden. Hope and Neville themselves were talking with Augusta, who was now wheelchair-bound but seemed as sharp as ever, though she had foregone her vulture hat for the wedding. Neville was holding Hope's hand in his as they talked. Andromeda and Ted were talking with Patty Fields, Molly and Arthur at a table, Molly telling a story. Andromeda's head was thrown back in laughter. Some of Hope's colleagues from St. Mungo's were gathered around the dessert bar, as were Effie and Evan, both scooping up way too much ice cream and using more chocolate sauce than Remus thought was probably healthy, or even possible, not that he was about to interfere. Minerva McGonagall, Pomona Sprout, and Poppy Pomfrey were in conversation with Ron and Hermione gesticulating a bit as Ron looked on fondly. Harry and Ginny were also on the dance floor, slow dancing at about the same pace as Remus and Sirius, while John half danced and half pulled a giggling toddler James in a dance much faster than the music should have allowed. Remus sighed.
Home, I see home,
He said simply, and he felt Sirius nod.
and I feel it in your arms.
Me too, Moony, and that's due to your courage and steadfastness and love, and we all know it. Hope knows it. I know it. Harry knows it. John, Effie, and Evan know it. You are an incredible father and person. You need to know it too.
Remus turned his head and kissed Sirius gently on the cheek.
I also married a bright, vibrant, big-hearted, brilliant wizard.
Good thing too, or I'd have to be jealous.
Sirius said lightly. Remus pulled back enough so that he could take in Sirius's face and his stunning smile, before leaning back in to kiss him, warm and soft.
Thank you.
He said when they parted.
I think the point was, thank you.
Remus propped his chin on Sirius's shoulder, watching the lights for a bit.
You sure we're done? We married one off today, so,
Sirius said, and Remus laughed.
It's not like filling a vacancy. The answer for the last 9 years to that has been yes. We have 4. 5, if you count Harry. Plus, I'm 48.
Euphemia had James at 52.
I swear to Merlin, Sirius, if you bring anything on just by speaking it into the universe.
Remus said, but he laughed again, as did Sirius.
Good God, Padfoot, no. We still have 3 kids left to get all the way through Hogwarts.
Especially now that we have a Ravenclaw in the family.
Sirius said, raising his voice so that John could hear him across the dance floor. John looked up from where he was entertaining James and rolled his eyes liberally. Remus stifled a laugh.
Did he roll his eyes at me?
Sirius asked gleefully.
Yeah, he did. Good job with that, like you're an adolescent.
I'm not.
Sirius sulked, but Remus caught the sarcasm in it. He paused.
Are Evan and Effie still using the chocolate syrup?
Oh, yes.
Remus answered.
Should we put a stop to that?
Probably, yeah, but this is too nice.
Sirius hummed.
Yeah, it is.
He said softly.
I love you, Remus.
I love you, Sirius.
Remus said as Sirius continued to move them across the dance floor. Hope looked up and caught his eye and smiled, and Remus smiled back. Finite. Thanks for listening to this text-to-speech podfic composed by Burning Aurora, Caliana, and Flowerhawk.